Hey, it's that great day, sweethearts, where I stop talking and teaching and you can just say, I know, Mrs. Ritter. And on Unit 5, the Unit 5 test, you're going to show that you know. So the first question on the test is about common denominators between 5/6 and 1/2. In your journal, we did problems like this on page 155. And so all it asks you to do is rewrite this fraction and this fraction, but with the same common denominator. You know how to do that. And again, 3/8 and 2/5 don't have the same denominator, but what would the fractions be if they did have the same denominator? All right. On the next one, it says, describe how you found the common denominator for this question. Like, what was the best way for you to find the common denominator when one denominator is 8 and one denominator is 5? We did questions like this on page 156. There's multiple answers for this, and there's no particular right way because there's different ways to find the common denominator. All right. Use the equivalent fractions you wrote in problem 1 up here to solve these problems. Well, what's 5/6 minus 1/2? And what is 3/8 plus 2/5? And you can, now that you know what these are with common denominators, when add them up or subtract them, or you can use the other strategy that I showed you on the video. So, but on page 157 is what we did in class that relates to this. I just wanted to remember when we did this part about multiplying, one strategy to add fractions with unlike common denominators is just, what we did before, multiply across, then cross multiply, add them together, and get the answer. So again, on the fourth problem, it wants you to estimate what would the answer be near if you had 9 2/3 plus 4 1/5. About, on this one, it just says estimate. So you're only writing the answer, what you think it will be close to. That we did this on page 160. And then this space right here is to solve that problem. We've done lots of that in class. And then here is to write the correct answer. So here's your estimate. Here's where you're going to write your correct answer. And then the same kind of problem except subtraction. If you have 3 3/4 minus 1 2/5, about what should the answer be? And then use this space to solve it. Page 163 and 164 in your math journal is when we practice these. And this is for the actual correct answer. All right, on the back of that page, we have Jenny walked 2 3/8 miles on Monday and 1 7/8 miles on Tuesday. How many miles did she walk on Monday and Tuesday altogether? Here's where you write the equation using the information here, and here's where you would just write your estimate. About what? This is where you work out the problem, this space, and this is where you write the answer. Okay, number 7 has A, B, and C. What is 1/5 of 45? And knowing what 1/5 is, then what is 3/5 of 45? And explain how you use your answers in part A to help you figure out what part B is. For example, if there were 45 marbles and 5 friends, what would each friend get? What would be 1/5 of that? And then if someone said, hey, I want 3/5, how many marbles would that person get? We did problems like this on page 167 and 169. And again, explaining how knowing 1/5 of 45 helps you to get 3/5 of 45. Just use your words. And if you need help with dictation and have somebody write down your thinking, just ask. Ask when you have questions. Page number 8, 20 times 3/10 and 12 times 5/6. We did problems like this on page 170. And remember, when we talked about if you have a problem of a whole number times a fraction, that is the same thing as that whole number over 1 times the fraction. And then on problem 10, it says, look at the problem. It just says, look at the problem 15 times 3/5. Will the product be greater than 15? So I wanted you to remember the product equals the answer. The product is the answer. So it's asking you, will the answer of this problem be greater than 15? And how do you know that? Without doing the problem. All right. So this is getting into your mathematical thinking. Like, how do you know if it's going to be greater than or less than 15? Explain your thinking. Again, raise your hand if you need some help. Will the product be greater than 3/5 for this problem? Yes or no? And how do you know? And then part C is actually do the problem, just like you did the problem up here, all right? All right, the next page. Fold a piece of paper. We're not going to do that. We did these in your journals on page 173 and 174 where we just drew them in to help you solve the problem 2/3 of 3/4. Then draw lines to shade the rectangle at the right to show what you did. So just like we did in class, 2/3, so one side of the rectangle is divided into thirds and the other is divided into fourths, and then show what is 2/3 of 3/4. Now look in your journal because we've done these. And 12, write a number story that matches this, 5/6 times 12. Then solve the number story. So what is 5/6 times 12? And when would you have that math problem? So use words or people or food or whatever and write a story for that. This is also a space where you can figure out your answer. And the answer for this problem goes right here. The solution for number 12 goes right here, what the answer is. Number 13, what are the dimensions of the shaded rectangle? Okay, now we did this on page 176 and 177 where this is 1 and this is 2. I mean, this is 1 and this is 1, and then these are fractions. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one's broken up into fifths. And so think about it is how many on the x-axis, how many on the y, what fraction on the x, what fraction on the y, what is the area of that, what fraction, what area of right here in the shaded, and write a multiplication number sentence that matches the area model. So very similar to this, 2/3 of. So down here it's the same thing, is using this fraction of this fraction and getting the answer there. And the next page, which is the last page, we've done fractions times fractions on page 179, fractions times fractions. What's the answer? For each problem below, write a division number model with the letter for the unknown. Then draw a picture to solve the problem. Write a multiplication number sentence to show how you checked your answer. Wallace has a half gallon of milk. He wants to pour it into 4 containers, putting the same amount in each container. How much should be put in each container? So he's taking that half gallon of milk and he's dividing it over 4. So what would be the mathematical equation here? We did problems like this on page 179. This is to help solve that. It says draw a picture to solve the problem. So you have to draw a picture to solve the problem, write the equation, and then this is where the answer would go. Now you know the opposite of dividing is multiplication, so check your answer. So does it make sense if you do multiplication? Does that work out? So Miss Reynolds has 5 pounds of clay for her art club. If she divides the clay into 1/3 pieces, how many pieces will she have? What's the equation here? If she has 5 pounds and she needs to divide them into a third, groups of a third, all right? Again, we did problems like this on page 170, number 4, number 5, page 179, page 181, problem number 4, page 175, problem number 5. So you've done these. So here you would write your equation for this division problem. Here you would draw that out to show that you're understanding. This is where you write the answer for the division problem, and this is where you use multiplication to check your answer. All right? And the last page, it says Unit 5 Challenge. You can do this if you want to, or you can tear this page out and recycle it. All right? So only if you want to do that. All right. Good luck. If you have questions, raise your hand. That is a characteristic of a successful learner. Just persevere and keep working, and don't be afraid to ask for some help or to ask someone to do your writing for you. Okay? There you go.